Welcome back. Well, the BBC edited a Donald Trump speech made outside the Capitol in a way which appears to make him encourage the January 6th Capitol riots. Now, that's what a whistleblowing memo that's been seen by The Telegraph in the UK says. Have a look at their video.
BBC Panorama released a documentary called Trump: A Second Chance, and in it they played the following clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
Between Capitol and that's a cut. Here's what Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Yeah, pretty shocking. The BBC has released a statement saying when it receives feedback, it takes it seriously and considers it carefully. It's just more evidence of its shocking bias. Joining me now for more on this is the Nightly's chief writer, Aaron Patrick. Aaron, this is just the latest example of the BBC bias, but pretty terrible to think that they edited Trump's speech in this inflammatory way.
Well, what I think is particularly poor about this example is that the BBC holds itself out as a paragon of journalistic ethics and principles. And the Panorama program, which this is from, is the BBC's equivalent of Four Corners. So it is in theory meant to have the very highest standards of investigative journalism. So to engage in this kind of flagrant manipulation of the truth in order to make the president look like he said something he didn't, and not over a trivial matter, over a fundamental matter of his career, perhaps what many people thought was the lowest point of his presidencies. For this to be proven to be untrue is a huge scandal.
It is indeed, and the BBC is under massive pressure from it, particularly in the UK. And for anyone who doesn't know, the BBC is their taxpayer-funded broadcaster. Our ABC is similarly biased and has had its own problems with adding extra gunshots to its report on Heston Russell that he eventually was able to expose and win in a defamation case in court. Now, Aaron, you've written about the turmoil in the Liberal Party. You've said that if Susan Lee does choose to drop net zero, it could save her job, her credibility and the coalition. There is also mounting speculation that Angus Taylor could be leader. How do you think this all unfolds from here?
Well, it seems that the party room is finally balanced, and there is a huge struggle going on here over climate policy. And you have Conservatives who seem to have won the day and convinced the leadership, including Susan Lee, to drop the commitment to net zero. But the so-called moderates, I think it's better off calling them centrists or the left wing of the party, don't want to do this because they're based in urban electorates, inner city electorates, and they really fear that there'll be a backlash if this policy is changed. So this is a really difficult moment for the Liberal Party. There are no easy answers, but I think Liberals I've spoken to hope for some kind of compromise where both sides can go to their people and say, hey, we've done the right thing by you.
And in terms of the leadership move, I don't personally think there will be any leadership moves this year. I think there is a sentiment in the party that they want to give her a bit more time. What are you hearing?
Everyone knows it would be a colossal embarrassment if the Liberal Party was to remove its first woman leader in her first year in the job. It would look like it would be portrayed as not being serious about sexual equality, and everyone is highly conscious of that. At the same time, there is a sense, I think, of great disappointment in Susan Lee. Jalek Alrigson, who's a very influential columnist in The Australian, has got a column out today saying she doesn't know what Susan Lee stands for. So I think there's also great disappointment in how she's handled this matter, the climate matter, but also other smaller things too. She seemed to have perhaps gone too far. And so her career is at a very, very delicate moment right now.
And just in terms of that point that she doesn't know what she stands for, she's not a conviction politician, but that was actually her pitch when she stood up and spoke to the party pitching for the leadership. She actually said, I'm not going to make any captain's calls. It'll all be, joint cooperative decisions that are taken to the party room. So that was the basis on which she's elected. But now, of course, the party's finding out that perhaps it does want a leader with a vision, with conviction. Well, let's turn to the RBA now. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this. Now, unsurprising after the inflation data last week that the cash rate has remained on hold at 3.6%. But now there are serious concerns about rising unemployment, sticky inflation, and where this leaves our nation.
We're in this really awkward moment economically because interest rates are coming down, but inflation's going up, and that's contradictory, and that can't hold. And the Governor of the Reserve Bank today, Michelle Bullock, did not have any answers. She basically said, hey, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to interest rates. So in other words, it looks like the Reserve Bank is losing control of the economy. You have a federal government which is spending a lot, which is contributing upwards to inflation. So then making the Reserve Bank jobs harder. For general, if you want to go out and take a mortgage, you've got to work out, should I fix my mortgage or not? Well, there's no indication of which way to go. And so this is a really difficult moment for not just the Reserve Bank, but for borrowers across the economy. And I think it's going to cause a lot of heartache.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Aaron Patrick, really appreciate your time. And look, let's hope it is at a recession, and let's hope the heartache isn't that inflation starts to lower, because it will be devastating for a lot of families across the nation.